Welcome back to the 13th grade. My name is Elliot Schoner. Today we want to expand on the investing lessons here. Today we want to talk about investing in private businesses or just in businesses in general. Let's get to it. All right, guys, thank you for joining us and welcome back. This is a continuation of the investing section of the 13th grade. And again, I'll say to you again 1,000 times over, if you've not gone back and watched everything, I really don't encourage you to go and be watching this as a standalone. It probably wouldn't necessarily make sense. Everything that we're doing here is building one after another. As with always, I'm going to go ahead and put up the disclosure here, which we kind of covered last time, but I want to make sure you realize that as we're going in, as we're talking about investments, just because we're sitting here and having a discussion about what could or could not be good investment or whatever, just because I say, hey, this is a good, potentially a way that you can make money and so forth. I am by no means whatsoever saying you should go do this or this is right for you or whatever. The only person that can determine what is going to be the right investment for you is you. It depends on how much money you have, your risk tolerance, what you have going on, the attention you can apply to that particular investment. So again, as a reminder, I'm not your CPA, I'm not your accountant, I'm not a certified financial planner. I have no idea about you whatsoever. I'm talking literally to a camera. So this is not financial advice. We actually more so, it's not even just necessarily this is for education purposes, but specifically what I'm talking to you about is my journey, specifically in what I did to move from nothing to something in a very short period of time. So it's more of a documentary versus anything else. So getting right to it. If when I say private business, you want to go invest in a business, you want to be a business owner, I want you to think about what I mean by that. When I say to you, you want to go in and do business, you want to go own a business, what I'm saying to you is not that you want to go be your own boss and operate a business. Okay. This is two different things. Most people think like, oh, to be a business owner, or I want to invest in businesses or whatever. Or I hear that, CEOs make a tons of money or whatever. That's not what we're talking about. Being your own boss is not investing in business. Now, we may talk later about being a business owner and some of the benefits of it, but that's not investing in the business. So, for the sake of this, we're talking about literally investing in businesses. When we're talking about stock, we're actually talking about investing in businesses, but in a kind of a not a real tangible way, right? It's kind of removed. You're almost a third party, if you will, because just because you have 100 shares of stock doesn't necessarily mean you can go to the boardroom and dictate the way the business goes. Yeah, you are an investor in that you bought stock and sort of you own, I guess, some portion of the company, or whatever, but you don't really have a say in anything, right? You're kind of just along for the ride. This might be very different than if you are um, then you are actually owning a particular business that you have control over. So let's just go back real quick to the cash flow quadrant, right? And I want to stress on this enough because it's extremely important. Again, this is one of those mindset pieces. This is one of those things that separates those that are wealthy for those that aren't necessarily wealthy. Um, as an employee, you're working for somebody like a 9 to 5 job, and you're exchanging your time for money. If you go and you become self-employed, so you actually start a business, again, it's not investing in a business, you're still exchanging your time for money, right? Because you're still having to go and operate the business. As a business owner, you hire employees and that employees make money, right? And then, of course, as an investor, your money makes money. When we talk about owning a business, and I think I alluded to this like early in like almost the first or second slide, you can be a business owner, for example, and pretty much be like 99% of the time not in the business. So like we own a restaurant And I was never in the business. I didn't work any shifts. I wasn't a manager for it. I was kind of like always having to like look around and kind of look at numbers and kind of that. So it's kind of managing from afar, but I had a management team. And so I was not retired. I couldn't necessarily reach my FI number. I was always a financially independent ability to retire early because I couldn't really retire because I was always kind of in it. Like I say, I always have a toe kind of in it. But as a business owner, kind of my employees were making me money, right? So my money went to go operating, buy business, invest in it, hire employees or whatever. And it was really the employees making me money. As an investor, that's really buying stock, right? So that's like I put money in Tesla, my money's making money because I get a return on investment. What we're talking about here going forward is somewhere kind of in between this business, the B and the I. Like somewhere like you might be a little bit more investor, you might be a little bit more business, a little more hands-on. It's kind of a blurred sort of area, but you're somewhere sort of in that right side quadrant. Okay. So that's important to know because what we definitely are not, we definitely don't consider it is we're not the S. If you were a plumber and you decide to go start your own plumbing company, you're not investing in a business. You're self-employed. Okay, it's different. Now, one of the reasons why, as I go through the videos going forward, guys, I'm going to pause a lot and I'm going to really think things through in the way that I can explain it to you. Some of the things that I say to you are going to sound very obvious to some of you. Some of them, the things I'm saying to you is like, it's going to go right over your head. The shift between the 99% and the 1% is the way that you think about things, your mindset, the way that you approach, see, act, or otherwise just do money, right? And so if I pause and it's because I'm really trying to think about the best way to explain this to you. Okay. Credit plus your source of income equals leverage. This is extremely important. Okay. Extremely important, especially when you're early on. If I have an 800 credit score, remember we talked about like what lenders love? If I have an 800 credit score and my income source is from a W 2 job, so I work at Google, make $80,000 a year doing whatever, been there for 5 years, I have an 800 credit score. 800 credit score plus 5 years of being in my job plus the good income equals my ability to get leverage. Okay. Credit times 1099 income equals maybe leverage. Okay. When you are a 1099, you are self-employed. So if I'm a plumber and I work a 9 to 5, I'm getting a salary. I'm getting a check every single week. If I've been there for 5 years, that's very consistent income. That plus really great credit means I can go buy a home. If I am have really great credit and I'm a plumber, but I'm self-employed, I'm basically kind of 1099, means I'm not getting a regular salary. Even if I form a company and that company pays me, when they go do research on the company, they're going to ask, do I own 100% of the company? I'm going to say yes, and it is what it is. It's the same thing. When you're self-employed, the scrutiny over self-employed income is like tenfold. In addition, if you're self-employed and you're 1099, you're probably doing a lot to write-offs and things like that. So even though you made $100,000 a year, you on paper might only show that you made $20,000 a year. And so the best way I can explain to you is credit times $20,000 a year does not equal leverage. Okay. And so the reason why when we say we like to invest in businesses and not be the business owner or be self-employed is because we need all parts of the equation. And all parts of the equation means establish your credit, which we covered in previous slides. This is why it's important you go back to look at all the videos before this. And a really good credit is a really good income source so that you can get the leverage you need to go make really, really great investments. If you decide to do right out of school to go be self-employed, You have to understand that you just set your ability to get leverage way back. If you mess up your credit and have a really great employment W-2 job, you've set yourself way back to being able to get leverage. This is the missing piece. I think I've said this a few times, but it's so critical. This is the missing piece that is not in all the other financial books and everything I've seen. It's like people are like, "Oh, you should, the tax books are like, "Oh, you should write off all your taxes. This is what you should do." Okay, that's great, but what if you need income to show to get leverage? And you need leverage to grow from nothing to something in a very short period of time and hitting a state of fire, having more money than you could possibly imagine. Or they'll go, hey, you should have a really good job, go to school, take out tons of debt, blah, 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 get a really great income. But then they never cover the credit piece. It's like, we're great. Now I'm an attorney and I'm making $200,000 a year, but my credit's 400. Well, that's great. Now I'm stuck to a W-2 job, getting taxed 40%, plus the state and federal income tax. And my best case scenario, I can put a little bit of money to my traditional IRA at 6,600, and that's it. I can't get leverage. My credit sucks. It's a combination of all of those, and it's done so strategically. Oftentimes, what people will do is like, I was working your credit, but they'll work in an income producing job. This is so important, guys. So important. You go work in an income producing W-2 job so that you have a good income history, so you can use your credit, make the creditors happy to get leverage. Then the leverage, which are probably buying assets, when those assets are producing a good amount of income and the assets are producing, year over year, you have 3, 4, 5 years of that income, and I can show tax returns that's showing my assets are producing that kind of income, then I can leave the W-2 job. But you're not getting the leverage to buy the asset if you're self-employed plumber for 6 months. If you're self-employed plumber for 2 years, it's probably not going to happen, which is why it's critically important you keep your W-2 job. And that investing is not about investing in self-employment. It's about investing in businesses. So, sorry we got off a tangent. I guess this video is going to be a little bit longer, but it's very, very important. Now, dumb businesses. This is amazing, amazing concept. And this comes from an amazing woman, Cody Sanchez. Actually, just went to something and saw her live just last week. Amazing person. If you do not follow Cody Sanchez, go follow Cody Sanchez. It's critical, 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 critical. She'll give you all the information you need and how to acquire businesses. Okay. What is a dumb business? A dumb business is a business, and this is not her, this is my rendition of it. She might say something slightly different, but this is my rendition of what I got from listening to her. A dumb business is a business that is otherwise like not sexy. You're not developing an app. You're not, it's not like AI robotics mowing lawns, AI robots mowing lawns for you. There's a business there. I invested in it. It's nothing sexy, right? It's like a dumb business is like a laundromat. Okay. And is a laundromat sexy? Like if you were on a date and you were with somebody and they're like, hey, so what do you do for work? And you're like, well, I own a laundromat. They probably would look at you a certain kind of way. Quite honestly, as we know, being on our way to being the 1%, we realize that getting looked at a certain kind of way is probably the correct thing. It means we're probably in the right direction. But if you're like, hey, I own a laundromat, they look at you a certain kind of way, they're probably thinking like, oh, like that's not sexy, that's not whatever. However, that might mean that your net worth is worth, $15 million because you decide to own a laundromat, which is a dumb business. A dumb business is a business that basically operates as itself. It doesn't necessarily need a whole lot of employees. It's probably been there for a certain period of time. And it's just kind of dumb. It just sort of like it just produces money. It's not sexy. It's not really growing at all. Dumb businesses are laundromats. Dumb businesses are car washes. Dumb businesses are, those places you go where you can buy ice. It's things that basically kind of manage itself, aren't necessarily really sexy, don't necessarily have a tremendous amount of growth. They're just kind of, it is what it is. Right. Now, in order to understand how you would buy a dumb business, how you invest in a business, or why investing in business matters, and like how you get profit out of it and whatever. We got to understand how businesses are actually purchased. Okay, so we're gonna do a lesson here. A typical business, let's say your business is the profit is $120,000 per year, which means after all operational, so like revenue minus expenses, labor, rent, all that kind of stuff, total profit $120,000 a year. Okay. That $120,000 a year, let's say you multiply that by three. So that would be three times net earnings. Okay. $360,000 a year. Businesses typically sell. So a business that's already been in business that's profitable. Businesses typically sell for some multiple of the revenue. Okay. Remember we were talking about stocks like a couple slides back, and I said like if you're not making a whole lot of money, like Tesla might be actually trading at this earnings per share, Ford might be trading at this earnings per share. If we thought Tesla was going to grow drastically over 10 years, like it could actually be trading a lot higher multiple of earnings per share than Ford because Ford's not really growing. Yeah, that's similar to buying businesses. It all kind of works out the same, right? And so let's say I'm going to go buy a laundromat, and the laundromats make $120,000 a year. So 360,000 at a multiple of three. So 360,000. The seller might say, I'm looking to sell the business for 360,000, three times the net income. And I know that's kind of all what I can get for it because it's not really growing. It's kind of just been doing the same $120,000 a year for like the last, 15 years. Okay. And so it's not really growing, so it is what it is. And so people that put money and buy businesses generally don't want to put money in a business unless they're going to get their initial investment back in like 2 to 3 years. Now, I may, I may decide to go, I'll pay five times earnings if the business is like really growing. So let's say the business was doing $80,000 a year, and then the first year, and then it was doing $100,000 the second year, and then 120 the third year. You can make a projection that it's going to do then, 140 or 160. Like the business is continuously growing. At that point in case, I might spend more money to purchase that business because while I'm making 120 this year, next year I plan to make more. And so I can still get my money back in 2.5, 3 years because the business is going to be growing. So maybe I buy it at a four multiple because it's growing a little bit. And so if I bought it at the current revenue, I'd get my money back in 3 years. But because I think it's going to grow, I'm going to pay almost 4 years revenue because I can still get that back in 3 years because the business and the revenue is growing. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't want to break down the math for you. However, if a business is losing money, you're probably going to pay a lot less. You might only pay one times earnings or even less than that. Okay. And so the idea of a dumb business is you find a business that's operational that might have been around for like 10 years or so, and it's kind of just earning, 80, $100,000 a year. This is actually kind of common right now if you follow Cody Sanchez and you get somebody that's like, kind of an old guy. I've owned the business. I kind of just want to get out of it. And I just kind of want to sell it. But I don't necessarily want 300,000 or $360,000 right now. Because if you pay me 360,000, that's 360,000 in earnings in income, and I might be taxed at 40% in that, which might be different than if I got paid maybe only 100,000 or $120,000 a year over the last 3 years. Like I kind of just want to stay in my same tax bracket. I don't want to go from like I'm making 120, 120, 120 to then making 360 because I sold my business and then have all that getting eaten up. I kind of just want that nice consistent income. Okay. And so what some people that sell businesses will do is they'll do something called owner financing. Okay. And so what owner financing is basically is exactly what it sounds. The owner says, I'm going to sell the business to you for 360,000. And I want to basically be paid over the next 36 months. Okay. So you pay me, $60,000 down. So, put 20% down in the business. Some owner financing is 0% down. Some owner finances is 50% down. I just picked 20%. So a deal might look at owner financing. They want $60,000 down. And then they want the remainder paid over the next 30 years or 36 months at $10,000 a month, which, and that would be 360. So let's call it the next 30 months, right? On the slide. And so the idea is the owner is getting that same sort of consistent income over the next 30 years as they head into retirement or they go to do whatever you want, and you get the business, right? So why would each party want to do that? And I kind of just alluded to it a little earlier, but the business owner might have been in the business for the last so long. They just want to retire. Remember, they're going to get Social Security. Maybe they've took this course that they've been putting money into some, traditional IRA, or they have other investments or whatever. And they've just decided, listen, I don't want to do the laundry mat anymore. It's a kind of time, like maybe some of the machines need to be upgraded. I just don't want to deal with it. I just kind of want to go sit in the beach, drink my lemonade and retire. Right. So they sell their business. They realize that it's kind of a dumb business. It's going to be hard for someone to get financing. So they'll do seller financing. Plus, that's better for them, the seller, because they'll receive a certain amount of money over the certain kind of year, which lowers their tax burden versus getting the money all up front. The power in buying a business, okay, is that when you do owner financing, okay, is let's say you put $60,000 down. That's all you did. You just put down 60,000. So you graduated college, you got your W-2 income, and you worked and you worked and you worked and you worked and you worked. And you lived at home, you didn't do anything else, you didn't spend all your money, you lived frugally and did all that, and you saved up $60,000. You could take the 60,000 and buy a real estate property. And then you could rent that out, and that might be an option. Or you could take the 60,000 and you could buy, say, buy a laundromat. You put down 60,000 and then you're going to pay them $10,000 a month for the next 36 months. Where is that 10,000 going to come from to pay off the loan for the owner financing? Well, usually these loans are structured in a way that it matches what the revenue of the business is. So the idea is the business has been making $10,000 a month or 120 a year. It's going to sell for 360,000. You're going to put $60,000 down. You're going to need to pay them 300,000 over the next 30 months. You're going to take the $10,000 you're getting from the business and you're going to put it into paying them back. So this arrangement benefits actually both people. And I want to get into that because I want you to make sure you understand why. As we mentioned, the guy that's selling the business might have been doing it for the last 15, 20 years, right? And so they may have just gotten tired of doing it and they just want to go sit on a beach and drink lemonade. They probably already have other investments, like they might have an IRA or 401k or something they're going to draw money on. They've probably been saving as they've owned this business, being self-employed for the last, let's say, 20 years, but they want to be done with it. They realize that nobody's going to give them an SBA loan or something like that because it's kind of a dumb business. It's not very sexy. While it's stable income, it's just hard to get financing for SBA loans for certain types of businesses. In addition to that, the person that buys that business might have no business experience whatsoever, which makes it even harder for them to get financing, even if they have a great W income and they have credit. Okay. And so the owner decides, hey, I'm going to sell the business for 360,000. And then instead of getting one big lump sum and getting taxed a lot for that, I'm going to get money over the course of a couple of years, and that's going to lower my tax burden. That's very positive for them. Now, the buyer looks at it and says, okay, well, it's $120,000 a year. I'm going to make $120,000 a year if I buy this business like right off the go because I'm looking at the financials and they've been doing this amount of money for the last, I don't know, 10 years or whatever. Pretty stable income, pretty consistent. Of the 360,000, they're going to put down $60,000 of their own money. So maybe they graduated college, they got a nice W-2 income, and they saved for 4 or 5 years. They saved the 60,000. They could have took the 60,000 and bought a real estate property. They could have took the 60,000, they could have put it in stocks, or they could have taken 60,000, they could have saved it because they were interested in buying a dumb business. These are the types of decisions that I want you guys to be thinking about. Okay. You take the 60,000, you put it into the dumb business, and you're going to pay them back $300,000 over the next 3 years, or like, let's say $10,000 a month. Where does that money come from? Well, it comes from the actual business itself, right? Now, this is why it's very important that you have a job when you buy a dumb business, that you don't necessarily need the income. Because a lot of the owner financing is structured with the idea of profit in mind. So the idea here is if the business is making $10,000 a month or 120 a year, the basis on which we use to the sales price of the particular business itself, well, and our payment then is going to be $10,000 a month. What we're basically saying is we're going to put down $60,000 into a business of money that we earned over a certain period of time. all the profit for the business, we're going to take the 10,000 profit and we're going to just pay it back to the owner. And we're going to do that for 3 years, taking zero profit out of the company whatsoever. Got it? And so you might be thinking like, well, well, that sucks. Like I'm going to put money in a business and then I'm not even going to earn any money for 3 years. Like how am I going to pay rent? Again, guys, this is why you invest in a business. You don't operate the business. This is actually why a lot of self-employment businesses fail because they're a plumber and they go, hey, I'm going to decide to go be a self-employed. And then the plumbing company doesn't really make a whole lot of money for the first 6 months to a year because you're just getting going. Uh-oh, they need to pay the mortgage, you got to pay rent, got to buy food, and they fail, fold up, and they end up going back to the W-2, which is why we say if you're going to go start a self-employment, let it be a side hustle, keep your W-2 income, along with the other reasons why we said credit plus good income equals leverage, right? So you're working, you're graduated college, whatever, you're working as a nurse or whatever, you're making $80,000 a year. You've decided to live with roommates. So you're saving, 20, $30,000 a year. You get your 60 grand. You take that $60,000 and you've put into the business. You're now paying that $10,000 a month for 3 years or 30 months. At the end of that amount of time, what happens? You have $120,000 a year in perpetuity forever. Now, there's some nuances there. You probably got to upgrade some machines here and there, things happen, whatever. But the idea is that you found a business that's been earning money for nearly a decade. It doesn't really need a whole lot of operational standpoint. Maybe it's got a manager already in. You found a guy that wants to retire. And all you got to do is just kind of come take over the operations, oversee it a little bit, retain the current employee. Let's say there's an employee there that works just, changing the machines or doing whatever it needs to be doing. You're going to retain the management. The only thing you're doing is really just switching the name on the company. And in 3 years from now, based on that $60,000 investment, you now have a $10,000 income for the foreseeable future. And so the idea there is let's just say you did that every couple of years. And I say, like, let's say every 5 years you did that, right? You could be making $80,000 a year, saving $20,000 a month. And so, like, every 3 to 5 years, you got 60 or 70,000, you buy a business. And then 5 years later, you buy another business. And then 5 years later, you buy another business. And then 5 years later, you buy another business. You could find yourself 20 years from age 25 to 45. At the end of that age, you own 4 businesses, and let's say they're all making $10,000 a month. Ladies and gentlemen, you now have $40,000 in income coming in. That's your retirement. Got it? And how did you do it? You just did it by saving, a little bit of your W-2 salary. Makes sense? So this is a small, small little nugget and kind of a first piece of how you can see how that can happen. It gets a lot, a lot, a lot better. But it's a good example of the power of maybe living a little bit frugal, being a little bit comfortable early on to get that first nest egg to then buy that business, how it can start to add up. I believe we talked about, or we will in the future, or we will in the next course, how your houses can buy you houses, right? Assets stacking type of assets. Actually, we did talk about that in the Grant Cardone method. This is also a way that your businesses can start buying your businesses. Imagine you saved from 25 to 30 to buy the first business. And at 30, you bought the first business. But let's say the payoff term was, I don't know, 3 years. Let's just be 5 years because let's say we spent the next 2 years of profit upgrading the machines and stuff like that. Like we've done in the previous example, if from 25 to 35, we were able to save up to $60,000 for the stupid laundromat, we would probably still be able to save up the same amount of money from 30 to 35 for another business, the second business, right? And so you would say that after 5 years, you'll have one business paying you 120. And the second year or 10 years, you'll have 2 businesses paying you 120. But the first business is paid off in year 8 because you bought it, took you 5 years to buy it, and then it took you 3 years to pay it off. By the time you get to year 10, where you've saved in to buy the next business, that first business is just paying you the $10,000 a month or $120,000 a year. What is $120,000 a year? I'll let you think about that. That's half of 60, folks. What is 60,000? 60,000 is what we did to buy the first business. So if you're hearing me correctly, similar to what we did in real estate, 25 to 30, you saved up your money. You bought your first laundromat. Your laundromat's making $10,000 a month, but you got to pay the loan back for the first 3 years. Year 4 and 5, we didn't, let's just say we didn't take any of the money there because we need to upgrade the machines because, whatever, they're old. By the time you get to year 10, 10 years from when you started this project or 5 years after you bought the business, that first laundromat is producing you $120,000 a year. Another way of saying it, it's producing you a way to buy another two laundromats every year. And so I'll let you do the math on that. Okay. But then the next year you buy two laundromats, and the next year you buy two laundromats, and the next year you buy two laundromats. And then 5 years later, now you have two laundromats that are producing you 120,000 each a month. So it's 240. So now you can buy four laundromats every year. Now you can buy four laundromats every year. Now four laundromats every year. And pretty soon the two that you bought from the previous one, they start coming in. So now, and it just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. And that's how you become a multi millionaire for something as stupid as owning laundromats and car washes and ice machines, and all the other things that are out there that are done businesses. It gets much, much better. I'm going to play a video. We're going to leave it here for today. I want you to let that sink in. Hopefully that makes you excited because it should be making you start to understand how the rich think about things. Remember when I was talking to you earlier and I said, some people want to go watch the game, hang out with their friends and go watch the game. Some people want to buy the team. For you to be 1%, you have to be the person that's thinking, I don't want to figure out how to to go work at the laundromat, work up to be a manager. I want to figure out how to buy the laundromat. You cannot buy the laundromat if you don't have the money to buy the laundromat. You will never have the money to buy the laundromat if every single dollar you make, you spend in Uber Eats, delivery, partying, hanging out, new shoes, new belt, new whatever. Okay? If this is why people don't do this, besides the fact they're just not even thinking about it, you must live frugal. You must be a little bit uncomfortable early on. Understand why you're being uncomfortable early on based on your circle of influence and them telling you doing all the correct things and your community that's keeping you strong. And you've seen other people doing it, you see other people doing it, and like you're kind of going on the journey. That all of that support allows you to build the money that you need to start the snowball of assets on assets. What we're talking about today in buying dub businesses isn't even the 1%. If you're on Mendipity.com, I'm going to post down below a link that I recorded. And this actually came from TikTok. Actually, I think they're banning TikTok in like 2 days from now. So this video is a recording of TikTok, the social media maybe that was once banned. That was pretty awesome, but it's gone now. Maybe, perhaps, maybe it's still around. I don't know. We'll see. These guys is on a completely different level. And remember when I told you that stocks that seem like they're going to go up and be worth more value trade at a lot higher multiples? Well, businesses do that too. And I think I explained that to you. Where that gets supercharged is when people buy businesses and instead of buying a laundromat, they buy maybe a couple of things that are the same and they conglomerate those businesses into one enterprise. And that one enterprise is larger. The sum is larger than the individual parts. And why each one of those businesses may not necessarily be all that sexy, the combination of all of those and the footprint ends up being sexy. You add a little bit of growth through efficiency, and the multiple goes from 3x to 8x. And the money that you make, instead of selling your business for 360,000, you sell that for $1 million. But because you have 4 times the businesses inside it, it's $5 million. And so I'm not doing that justice. I'm gonna let you listen to this. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. We'll go over it more later. But if you're on dippy.com, I'm going to shoot that below. And I think I've said this a few times already, but if you're not watching this on our particular website, you need to get there and watch it because there's all this extra stuff that we have in there that supplements. Almost in every lesson we have, I have additional breakdown stuff that we have, better examples to really let the information sink in. Dumb businesses are an amazing opportunity, unlike they've ever been, as it stands right now here in 2025. There are a tremendous amount of baby boomers that are headed towards retirement. Those baby boomers no longer want to be in the businesses that they're in. They want to retire. But what do they do with the business? There are so many people that are out there right now going to college, getting degrees in psychology that want to go be, AI techs and engineering and all these kind of things that are sexy. They're super excited about getting a freaking stupid 9 to 5 job that's going to tie them to the desk, that's going to ensure that they never able to put any of these principles in practice, that there is a whole gap of people that are retiring in these businesses that will probably simply shut their doors because there's no one to take them over. If you have the capital, if you're working hard, grinding, and you can get that initial capital to go in and approach these people to put down some of the down payments to get the owner financing, it's a tremendous amount of opportunity to helping you build generational wealth. Until next time.